And here we go. I have not talked to this young lady. It has been, I think, 10 years since the last time I even saw you in person at Summerfest in Livingston.
Wow.
Welcome to the stage, Stephanie Quayle. How are you?
I'm so excited to talk sports with you.
Yes, yes, I know. Um, how's baseball season going for you so far? No,
You know, really good. You know what the thing about baseball is? Just when you think the game is over,
I know. It goes forever.
I will say I've learned to love baseball. I didn't grow up with baseball, but my husband played, and so I learned so much about baseball through him trying to speak baseball to me, as a metaphor for life. And so very often I would be like, is this a good thing? Are we fighting? Like, is this good?
Yes, Stephanie, it's a swing and a miss. And yes,
Baseball loaded.
he hit the home run by marrying you.
You're very cute.
Oh,
My favorite one is touch them all, which when he first said that, I just started giggling because I'm like a 12-year-old. And he's like, no, like touch all the bases, like make home run. I'm like, oh,
oh,
but
Stephanie.
mature sometimes.
Yeah, no, why would we ever want to do that?
Yeah.
I read your book over the weekend. She is the singer, she's a songwriter, she is an author, she is a Montanan. She's actually in Montana right now.
I know it snowed last night. What?
Welcome to Montana, Stephanie.
I know. I
Welcome
was like,
home.
hello.
So how much snow did you get? Because you're in the Paradise Valley area, right?
I stayed in town so I could go.
Oh, okay.
I stayed in Bozeman last night so I could go to some of the local bookstores today and just see, like, see if my book's there.
This one. So
Yeah.
I took the cover off of it, but but
Isn't
it's
it cool that they printed the cover on the actual book too?
I know I love it.
I
Yeah,
didn't know they were going to do that until I
it's
got my copy.
it's
It's
so
very
cool.
yeah.
And you've been doing some readings on the Instagram.
On the socials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that been going? What's the response?
Read. This is just such new territory for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking about music is, it's just, we get to share micro pieces of our world in 3-minute songs and 3.5 if we're feeling frisky. With this book, there's no interpretation. It's black and white. It's on the page.
Yes.
So I'm excited that it's out today officially. I'm I'm a little trepidatious, a little nervous because as you read, I share it all.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
How cathartic was this process before we actually dive into the book, its meaning, everything? How cathartic, because it took you a while to decide to do this.
Yes. Yeah. So the plane crash that was the kind of the catalyst of writing. So many things that you'll read in the book, and as you know, uh, that was 2009. And so after the plane crash and everything that I learned after, I was like, one day I'll write a book. That was 15 years ago.
Hmm.
And so then with writing On the Edge, the album, that was extremely cathartic because I'd never put that, what I call the lost years, into my songs. And then, people were shook by this. Wait, what? I've never talked about this publicly before. And I'm a pretty lighthearted person. I don't really, wear that, those years on my person, outwardly. Inside, it's like a meat grinder's been through there, but emotional, everything's
Yes,
fine.
yes.
And so when I started writing the book, I was up here in Montana. It was February. It was February of what year are we in? 24. So that was 23.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just freezing, frigid cold, and there was like little glimpses of sunshine, and it just gave me the opportunity to get myself into writing mode, which was really interesting,
Hmm.
and just write the book, like just write it down. And then of course, like HarperCollins has amazing editors that made my sentences not run-ons for days. And, like, hey, you can't be in every tense at the same time, lady. And the cathartic side of it has been layered. It's like writing the book and getting it approved. That was like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good. And then it was like, oh, we've still got more work to do internally. And so what's happened is, like, with actually right now, it feels like every day I learn something new about myself that I didn't fully grasp. And it's really revealing. And it's also like, okay, and just keep going through those layers. So I think I've opened a can that will never close.
Yep.
And I think that's really healthy. It's also, you have to, I think also I've had to mentally prepare for that, because it's not a walk in the park. It's it's a choice to go into your stuff and, like, get your way through it.
So the book is called Why Do We Stay? And it's basically you, along with Dr. W. Keith Campbell, who wrote some amazing stuff at the end of every chapter. And I highly recommend this book. If you've ever been in, or if you were the toxic part or suffered from the toxic part of a relationship, you need to read this book. There was a couple of things, Stephanie, that really stood out. And I don't know how much of the book you want to talk about as far as the story that leads into it.
You lead this how you see it.
Well, I want people to read it.
Well, I think the beauty about it is it's part memoir, sure. It's because it's my firsthand account of my life and my choices, right? Like, that was a big, a big part of it is that this is not me victimizing myself. This is me. I was complicit in my choices. I made my decisions. And my hope is that with Keith's expertise married with the story, that for anyone, like you said, on either side of toxicity, because I think sometimes we don't even recognize our part in it, it's to really just have that, like, guide, that tool. I didn't have this book in my early 20s. I had no idea what I was doing.
No, you were going with the flow in
I was rogue.
Venice.
Rogue, baby.
Okay, so you're dating this guy. He's the love of your life. You're what, 26?
Yeah, early 20. Yeah,
mid 20s.
Well, he died when I was 29.
Okay.
Yeah, 29.
Beautiful daughter. You've basically become a mom too, and then he dies, and then you start finding out immediately all the stuff, all the crap, and then you get into another toxic relationship, but you finally learned, right? And when was that learning moment? Because I just love this book, and there's so many. I mean, I read it; it's all fresh in my head. But take me to New Year's Eve. Let's go there. New Year's Eve, the toxic part of this, because
that is probably the most, like, the two parts of the book that I didn't think I'd put in the book are New Year's Eve and then the night that they called like the suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Those two parts of the book were the hardest, right? Because I had kind of gleamed through my trauma, right? I just was like, just keep on going forward. Just keep on keeping on,
mm-hmm.
And I hadn't done the work. So yeah, New Year's Eve, that was a brutal. So this was, are you talking about New Year's Eve, the one that ended very badly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Or it could have ended worse, actually.
Or it could have ended very badly. The one that you thought was going to be a beautiful night. Yes.
Yeah. So, this was, New Year's Eve is such a day of like tomorrow, everything will be anew, and we put all this ridiculous pressure on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, Paulo and I and some of his friends had, gone to this I don't want to give all the details, so you got to read the book. But we had gone to like a club and for New Year's Eve party. And, there was never, I've been asked this question, did I ever think he was cheating on me? Honestly, I didn't. I didn't know how someone could cheat on someone and be raising their kid with them. I couldn't, like, I don't have that. I didn't have that kind of understanding of human capacity. Humans can do a lot of things simultaneously.
Yes.
And so, he was flirtatious, charismatic. Everyone loved to be around him. Like, so that was pretty standard issue. But this night, everyone's drinking, and I just got a little bit more courageous when he started flirting with a woman. And it was met with him handing me a handful of, I don't know what kind of drugs. I still don't really know to this day what he gave me. And I just remember him closing up my hand and saying, take these, don't ruin this, Quayle. And he would only call me by my last name. I'm not saying it verbatim in the book, but you'll get the points of it. And so I just remember being like, just so heartbroken and minimized. And then I went into the bathroom and I went to one of the stalls and took whatever he gave me, which is so extremely dangerous.
Well, yeah.
And I just took him dry, which is also like, it's the worst. I was just like, took him down. And when I came out of the bathroom, I went to the mirror and no one else was in the bathroom at that point. And I just looked in the mirror and I said, don't you ruin this, Quayle. And I went out there, and the drugs, of course, mixed with alcohol and, that empty stomach trying to fit into a tight dress, yes. Kind of concoction went very badly. And so we had to leave. I think everything hit within like less than 30 minutes. And then it was, like the right thing would have been to, like, I don't know, take me to the emergency room and have them pump my stomach, but that's not what happened. And so somehow I survived by the grace of God. And the craziest part was that it was somehow, again, my fault for having an adverse reaction to the drugs that were given to me by this person that I love and trust. Mm-hmm. It's just a mess. Gosh, even like just saying it back gives me like a pit in my stomach.
Well, I don't want to bring it up, but it's in the book. But it's there was because
bring it up because people need to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say I've been in these relationships, Stephanie, that or even in friendships or working relationships. It's not just in dating relationships, that I think, but calling you only Quayle, and that stuck out to me as I'm reading the book. He never called you Stephanie, and never gave you credit for everything you did. But you get that, and it's the narcissistic attitude. It's gaslighting. I mean, it's all of that wrapped up into one relationship that was whirlwind at the basically. Totally. And you didn't understand it.
No, and I think that's while we were putting this book together, it's like, how do we take this stranger than fiction story, which I checked myself. I had to keep calling my mom and my stepmom to check myself and make sure I wasn't exaggerating or remembering things differently than they had happened, because there had been that, time lapse. And they're like, no, it was that bad. Like, thanks, mom. Thanks, stepmom. Yeah. But really to, give us the real word terminology through Keith's expertise. Like when you're getting it from one of the leading experts in narcissism, you don't have to question what they're saying. It's different when you have your friends, you're like red flags, all these little social media terms that have been, kind of exploited and made cute. Like there's nothing about this that is cute.
No.
And so I think that's what I am so proud with the book, is that especially for our young people, because there's so many like teenagers that are starting to fall into these toxic relationships. And that's really unless we nip it, it can really compound. And then, you get into your early 20s like I did, and you fall into a relationship that you're just not prepared for.
Yep.
And there are those power dynamics. And, had I had this book, I would have been like, I'm gonna turn the page. I don't, whatever.
Right? Yeah.
Like, nope.
Yes.
Nope. And but I loved what you said about, even if you feel, if someone is kind of going, well, maybe I treated someone that way, it's also a really good self-evaluation, because I have to check myself all the time. I just think that's healthy to keep ourselves kind of like, like, okay, where do we fall in our own stories, but also how do we fall in other people's stories, other people's lives, the impact that we're having on others. And so that's why I also, really share the dark stuff of me, because I think some people have this, we all have our stories that we don't show. Right. And so I really wanted people to believe me when I say with authority that I'm proof of the work.
Yep.
So that maybe one person, right, won't make the choices I did and get time back.
Stephanie Quayle joining us here. There's a line in the book, I guess it's the end of it. Just as my story matters, your story matters, your courage matters, your vulnerability matters, you matter. And I think that is so important. Like Stephanie, you brought up with young girls, young boys.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of things going on in the world.
Yes.
And if I recommend this, and not just because you're on the show, but I recommend it because it's so helpful. And I have a daughter that's a therapist, and I've gone to therapy. I've talked on my show about my depression, anxiety, everything. This is a helpful book, and I want that to come out in a way that's positive, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, and that's the truth of it, right? I think that I was already worthy way before I met these guys,
right,
or these business relationships or whatever. You name, like you said, toxic and narcissism. It can happen in any kind of family relationship, friend relationship, business relationship, romantic relationship. And I think that we set our foundation for ourselves, and when we wake up in the morning, like how we look at ourselves before anyone else gets involved.
Yep.
How are we with ourselves? And I think like that's been probably one of the biggest ahas, is how I mismanaged myself, how I accommodated and tolerated a lot of really bad behavior. And thank God I'm not 100 years old figuring this out,
right.
And now I can really live in that, just awareness. And, that like to your daughter, I just think of her, I'm like, man, the more we can self-control and self-regulate, that's when we go, no, this doesn't work for me. And that doesn't make us bad people. That doesn't make us rude. I mean, we can always say it mean, but we can say it kindly,
Right.
And just have that courageous confrontation. Just say, you know what, this just doesn't work for me. I wish you well.
There was a part in the book too that, you brought it up a little bit ago, self-worth. And I've heard that line a lot lately from my therapist when I go sit, is like, you matter, you mean something. Your self-worth is important to somebody other than you. And low self-esteem. And when you have that, you're more apt, I think, to find those toxic relationships.
Right. Well, because I think that, at least in my case, I'm not going to speak because I can't speak on others because that's not my business. But what I found was I didn't value myself.
Yep.
And I kept looking for outside ways to make me correct, overworking, falling into the wrong relationships. And so what I've really found is by doing the work, the value I have for myself, the worth I feel for myself. Now I can sit alone in quiet and in stillness and not feel lonely. And I think that is a real tipping point for me.
I totally want to recommend this book to people, and it's called literally "Why Do We Stay?" and it is written by the great Stephanie Quayle.
Hmm.
You will be signing in Livingston May 11th and in Bozeman on May 11th, right?
Yes. Livingston in the morning and then
That's
Country Bookshelf in the afternoon in Bozeman.
I almost read this as May 30th, but I was like, no, it's not. I can't read right now, so
Hey,
except your book.
it's great. No, I honestly, too, the fact that you read it, I just love that so much. You'd be surprised how many people, have conversations without reading it. So you're like, well, got to get into the meat.
Oh, I know. And no, I've got to read the book. I've got to watch the movie. I've got to listen to the album to understand the person I'm going to be talking with. And so I was reading it though, trying to piece things together. So this happened before I met you with Summerfest, right? 13, 14.
Yes. So when you met me, I met my husband. Well, we started dating in January of 14. So I don't know if you met him or not.
I did not meet him. He was not in Livingston, but you have a thing. I was with my girlfriend at the time in 2014 at
Okay.
Springfest. So we were both single in 13, Steph. I'm just saying. Or you were with the prince.
Yeah.
I'm not quite a prince, but
Well, neither was he.
yeah.
I'm being honest.
You do talk about him in the book as well. But you had strength.
And I had to change his name because, that's, I wish him well. I actually really do.
Yes.
It's just a wild full circle.
It's great. It's a great book. Are you seriously going to go in and buy one today?
I hope so.
Well, you've got yours. You've got how many sitting in your house?
Oh, I only have a couple with me.
Okay.
No, I can't wait to go buy it. Are you kidding? That's like the coolest thing
I
ever.
know. It's like buying your first CD, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild how God has orchestrated this whole thing because it's just so masterful. I just, you couldn't make it up. The fact that I get to be in my hometown
Mhm.
where I fell in love with my husband, where I wrote the album, where I wrote the book, to be able to be here, to know that I get to have lunch with my dad, to know I get to have dinner with my husband. It's just like, it's not this grandiose, sometimes people have big parties or whatever. It's just this sweet, simple, lovely celebration
Yes.
of like, it's like the Montana way to do it.
Which you are the Montana girl.
I'm just so happy to be home.
Um, you like older men. I had a chance, Stephanie. Just say,
I have always, since I was, and I'm sure therapists have lots to say about that. I've always dated older men,
yes.
even accidentally.
Because you graduated Belgrade, what, 2000?
Bozeman. No,
Bozeman.
98. I'm a 98er.
Or 98er, okay. But you knew my brother,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he was a Belgrader. So
Yeah.
you're only 5 years younger than me. So I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had no chance. I'm not old enough. Because David's a few years older, right?
I'm 17 years younger than him and older than his son, my stepson. So
Oh.
I'm the middle generation.
Okay. Because my wife is my oldest. Well, my wife is, how old is she? She's listening. She's 38 because I turned 49. She's 38. So
Got it.
I'm 11 years older. My son and oldest daughter are 24 and 25. So you can,
Yeah, she gets it.
yeah. I robbed the cradle. So did David. Good
Here's
on
the
him.
thing. We connect generations, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
We keep everyone sorted.
What's your
Together.
performance schedule coming up?
Ooh, I am doing I'll be actually back in month. What month are we? We're in May.
April 30th. So tomorrow's May 1st. It's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to your, what's your daughter's name?
Winifred. She will be 6.
Winifred. I love
Winnie,
her.
little Winnie.
Oh,
Do
what
you,
a,
you
what,
know?
that is just like the most precious age.
Do you know where I'm taking her?
No.
I am taking her to see Garth Brooks in Vegas Thursday
Are you
night.
serious?
Yes. It's more for my birthday in August, but
Oh my gosh, you got to let him know. You
I
got to
know.
let him know.
I know.
You
I don't
really
I don't
like
have that connection though.
no, it's okay. Nobody like no I mean nobody does. I mean everybody does through social media. I would totally post that you are taking her. Has she ever seen Garth?
She has not.
He is the one of the most tremendous, kindest human beings
Hmm.
I've ever encountered in our business.
Yes.
And he will remember her
I know.
and you. And so, yeah, I would, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. I would totally send him a video, tag him in it, and say, we're coming for Winnie's 6th birthday.
Ooh, I should. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because my two
Yeah.
oldest have seen him.
His
And
team pays attention.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Oh,
do.
he's tremendous. What a gift.
I know. I bought him a year ago, and my wife was like, "That's a birthday present for you."
Well,
I'm like, "Yeah,
I mean, it will be so fun. How cool.
I know." I wanted
She's
to,
going to leave with the t-shirt.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, she's like, "I don't know who he is." I'm like, "Honey, you know his music." She's like, "I just,
Will be
oh,
mesmerized.
I know." She will.
Gosh, when I saw, so I had met Garth a couple of times through, just the business, and I hadn't seen him in concert. And the thing that, like, one of them, and I don't know if this is full band or acoustic or what,
Both.
but okay, so there was this moment, I don't know if he'll do this in Vegas, where he transitioned from there, it was a full band, high octane, and then all of a sudden it was just him and a guitar. And it was so seamless that you didn't even realize.
Hmm.
And there was someone in the audience that had a sign, and he looked at her and he knew her. He remembered her, and she had been going to his concerts for years and years and years. And there's just something about him, he is so genuine. And it's almost kind of takes you back, because you're like, how could you remember me?
Yeah.
How could you remember me? And he's so like eye contact, man. He will like look you in the soul. Yeah, he's great. That'll be awesome.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Winnie.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Happy book day to you.
Oh,
It officially comes out on today. Is that right?
today's
Okay.
the day. We're here.
I thought it was May 4th for some reason, but I'm just all over the place.
Listen.
May 11th, you're signing books, though. Wheatgrass Books in Livingston at 11 a.m., Country Bookshelf in Bozeman, May 11th at 3 p.m. But go buy the book today. This is it. Why Do We Stay? Is that
So excited.
Stephanie Quayle? My fingernail's not dirty. I heard it golfing, so.
I understand.
You play guitar, you know.
Yeah, I got all kinds of, there's always something going on.
Stephanie, appreciate it. Don't be a stranger, please.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. This
Dude,
is really, this means a lot to me. Thank you for reading the book.
Of course. Thank you. Well, thanks to Shannon for sending it.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So
It's amazing. They get those books out fast.
yes, they do. Good luck with everything, and we will see you down the road, I'm sure.
All right, and let me know how it goes with Garth in Vegas.